Hello, Somatic Yoga family. I'm Megan and Milo taking his nap. And we have a practice for you today for chronic or persistent pain. And in yoga therapy, we have two different approaches to chronic pain. One would be to go into the pain, to try to make peace with it, to breathe to it, sort of a somatic inquiry into the pain itself. The other method, which we successfully used this morning, is the method of distraction. This idea that, let's say you have two friends, and one friend is very demanding and exhausting, and the other friend you find lots of joy with, pleasure, happiness. So at some point, you're going to need to remove yourself from the crabby, unfun friend, and you're going to want to spend time with your joyful friend. So if you think of your pain like that difficult friend, and then you still have a lot of kind, loving friends, that's your body. So we're not saying the pain isn't there or denying that it's real. We're just going to take an approach to look at ourselves from a space of either no sensation, or maybe even a pleasurable sensation or a dulling of sensation. So having said that, you'll notice I have a blanket on top of my mat. This practice can be done in bed if you're more comfortable. We're going to be side lying the whole time on one side and then the other. So in the side lying, you'll more than likely like a pillow or a blanket or something underneath your head. I'm a blanket person. And I have this nice little bolster, but you could use a pillow, and I'm going to encourage you to put that between your knees. So come on down, and we're going to start on our left side. So you can see I'm putting this here just to let my hips stack, and particularly this is very successful. We used it this morning for back pain. But you want to find a comfortable landing spot on your left side. So if you need to pull your left shoulder blade forward or roll your head a little bit, like I said, stack your knees. See if you can find a place where you can let the ground support you. The more we fight it, the stronger it gets, unfortunately. And know that the best tool you have to change your pain is your own mind. Take a moment to just digest that thought. Where is your mind right now? Do you feel safe? Can you land on your left side and feel the support of the ground? Let your bones just hold you in that position. And then feel the whole 360 degrees around your torso. That includes your abdomen. You can use your hand anywhere you want. See how it feels to just take a little bit fuller breath in. Notice the expansiveness of your body. Breathe out. Let it all go. If this doesn't work, just watch your natural breath as it's occurring. We just observe the natural breath, but connect with your breath, because your breath is one of your best and truest tellers of where you are in healing your pain or relieving yourself of the pain in this practice. So if your breath gets choppy or stops or in any way gets anxious or jumpy, that's a red flag for your nervous system, that it's going into that pain body. Because what we know is pain is not only physical, it's emotional. So what are you saying to yourself? Do you feel safe? Do you feel held? And then I want you to locate yourself in your right shoulder. And you could even touch your right collarbone. We find the bony landmarks. You might even reach around and feel your shoulder blades. So perhaps the pain is in the shoulder. If it is, just go with knowing where those are. And very slowly, start to make circles with your shoulder using your arm. So make a circular motion with your arm, and just notice how your shoulder moves. And think of putting your camera on half speed. It's an exploration. And you'll notice your shoulder and your elbow will go down towards your hip. You can take it forward. You can take it up towards your head. And you can take it back. If you feel like you can do this comfortably with an extended arm, you can make circles with an extended arm. Do you feel safe, or are you going to regret this? How are you breathing? So now let your arm relax and see if you can mimic or make those same circles, moving from the bony landmarks of your collarbone and your shoulder blade. So the arm is not initiating the movement. I'm moving from my shoulder girdle. I like to refer to the girdles, the girdle twins. You have your shoulder girdle and your pelvic girdle. Right now, we're moving from the shoulder girdle. And if your pain is back pain, then notice that we're away from that. And can you find a sensation that's comfortable for you as you're doing this? Maybe even pleasure. Go all the way fully around. Imagine a clock face and touch all the numbers on that clock. If there's a place where it feels jumpy or wants to skip, slide it even slower. And then you might think about going in the opposite direction. Just moving. Nice, easy rotation. And anytime we do these movements in one area, let the rest of the body respond, meaning if your head wants to roll or your hip needs to move, let it happen. So can you be present in the sensations that you're creating in that right shoulder? And breathe. And then we'll stop and just let the right shoulder relax. So we land again, feeling the whole body touching the ground. Feel the support of the ground and choose to receive that support on your left side. And then locate yourself in your right hip. You can even touch it. And I say this one's like you're stirring a pot. So imagine you have a handle on your right hip. And you're going to move from your leg first. So feel your right thigh, inner, outer. And maybe you just slightly slide. Let's do a back and forth first. Slide your inner right thigh forward. Think of pressing your knee forward and back. So you have to know where your pain is. So if it's low back and this is too much, just make a tiny movement. Or even less is in somatics, the first level is to not move, but to just imagine doing the movement. What would it feel like? So we say that's like kinesthetic imagery. We're imagining, what would it feel like if I just slid my leg back and forth, my right thigh on my left? And then the other way that the hip moves is down or away from the torso and towards the torso. And just do those for a moment. So I usually call this, we just did the east-west, and now we're doing the north up towards the armpit and the south towards your feet. And you can move again from the leg. So we're making this movement from the leg if you want. Think of taking your thigh away from you and towards you. Smaller is better. And now see if you can take that right hip all the way around in circles. So recognize if this is the source of your pain, particularly on your right side, then go even slower, even sweeter. Sense if anything is tensing in your shoulders or your jaw. One of my other rules is you should be able to put a soft smile on your face. If your lips are tensing, that tells a lot about your emotional body. So you're just making circles with the leg. And you can go both directions. And now notice the movement of the hip and see if you can let the leg be quiet so the right leg can just rest on the left. And can you make those same movements but initiate it from the hip? So it's like the right leg is just weight on top of the left, resting. And you're stirring your right hip in circles. Really slow and easy. Noticing your breath, what you're saying to yourself. So don't block it. If something comes in, then we can use that technique of breathing to it, asking it to release or asking it what it wants, because pain is protection. But also try that distraction method. What feels good? You can switch the direction of the circles. And then stop and pause. Just let go. So the old school of thought, way back when, particularly with back pain, was we were supposed to be laid up in bed for days, right? We now know that doesn't work. We need to find movement for the body, but movement that feels safe and therapeutic and comfortable. So now I want you to land again on your left side and locate yourself in both of the girdles. So your right hip or pelvis and right shoulder. And just feel yourself. You can even touch that area because your hands are tools for your nervous system. Remember, pain doesn't come from the muscles, it comes from your nervous system and your brain. That's why your brain is your best tool. So just feel that side of your body and play with moving the leg and the arm in circles. And you might do really small, teeny tiny circles. If you liked extending the arm, or if you want to lift that leg up because that's not where your pain is down in your back, then you can do that. Let the rest of your body just respond. So you'll get those twinges and you feel everything tighten up all of a sudden, right? So just stop, let yourself rest. But notice what feels good, or notice what you don't notice, what's not available to you, or even when there is no sensation. And then we'll let the arm and leg relax. Now you'll be more present in think of the bony landmarks of, you can touch the front of your right hip and the back of the right hip or the pelvis, and then the collarbone and the shoulder blade. Move from your bony landmarks of hip and shoulder, simultaneously making those circles go in whichever direction your brain naturally takes you. So they might be going in the same direction, opposite directions, doesn't matter. It's an exploratory movement. And you're moving from that top right side, but notice, because you got the ground there for feedback, what's happening on the left side. Can you feel your waist lift? Are you tensing in any way on the left side? Can you let that just keep landing in the ground? And you can change the circular patterns so they're going in the same direction, forward, opposite direction of the circles. All the way around. Find your full range of motion within your comfort. So this one can also be helped, since it's our right side up, is imagine breathing into your right lung, your beautiful 3-lobe right lung. In fact, now I would like you to relax your arm, your leg, and your hip and your shoulder, and see if you can make some of those similar movements from your right lung. What happens if you move from your right lung? So sometimes, again, the idea of the distraction is to initiate the movement not from the place where the pain is, but somewhere else in your body. And you can actually initiate movement with your breath. Breathe into your right lung. Feel the buoyancy of the breath, that little lift and expansion. Let it out and fall. So we can move from the right lung. Also, as we bring ourselves deeper into the center of the body, I call this your juicy center, you might choose to move from your liver. Think of your liver on your right side. How would it feel to move your body in any way that suits you from your liver? Let your liver do a little happy dance. Front and back. You might also think of your backside, your right kidney. So right at about the mid-waist, below your ribs, you could move from your right kidney. And I use the imagery of anatomy. So if you can try to imagine what it looks like, just like we can see our hand or our foot, see your kidney, see your right lung, see your liver from the inside, and move. And then pause just for a moment. Be still. Notice what you've created. And we'll do one last round for this right side. And I invite you to move in any way that created the greatest range of motion with the most pleasure, or maybe the least amount of sensation if you are in pain. So what was most comfortable for you? Was it moving from the arm and the leg? That you might have noticed might have been bigger movements. Does it feel safe? Was it moving from the bony landmarks of collarbone, shoulder blade, the hip? And was it moving from your right lung? Or was it moving from your liver, your kidney? Any combination. Breathe in and out. If you do hit one of those twingy spots, send it loving kindness. But then come back to, where is there no sensation? Maybe it's in your right pinky finger. Maybe it's the feeling of your breath coming in and out of your nose. How is that? Take a few more motions and then just pause and land. And in between, we're going to roll on our backside, so take your time. I'm going to encourage you to keep your knees bent, particularly if the pain you're experiencing is in your back at all, in your low back. Keep your knees bent. You might just let your inner knees fall together. Perhaps place your hands on your abdomen, on the low ribs. And just notice, with your eyes closed, I invite you to close your eyes if you're comfortable. Notice the two sides of your body, left and right, particularly the area from your hips, your right hip, through the torso to the shoulder. How does that feel compared to the left hip and torso and shoulder? And can you just let your whole backside land? If it's comfortable, if the pain's not in your low back, you can let your legs extend. Do some nice, easy, soft breaths all the way around 360 degrees of your torso again. Is your breath landing differently in the right side versus the left side? Again, if things come up, don't run. Listen. It's like the child pulling on your pant leg or the friend that needs that extra attention. We're there for that friend. We're there for that child. But then we schedule a dinner date with something a little bit more enjoyable, or at least something that doesn't cause us discomfort. Go anywhere in your body, the sound of your breath, the weight of a leg, an arm. Take 3 more rounds of breath. And then bend your knees, place your feet on the ground. We're going to be rolling onto our right side to do the same thing. So we're transitioning onto our right side, and know that it may be that you only want to do this on one side or the other. That's okay. I'm going to go down to my right side. You can join me or stay on that same side that you feel comfortable on. And I'm going to put the bolster between my knees because I like that, a little blanket under the head. And we're going to land on our right side. So can you ask the ground to receive your body and let your body accept that? Feeling fully supported on the right side. Anything that's touching the ground. Make any little wiggles or jiggles to make it that much more comfortable. So the method of distraction is this idea of reinvesting your focus. And oftentimes we'll use the breath as a method of distraction or reinvestment. So maybe start by landing in your left side, just breathing into your left lung or all the way around your torso. Notice the feedback you get as you breathe, and you feel your right side pushing into the floor, pulling away from the floor. So your breath may be a good distraction tool for you, or it may make you more anxious. Those are things we begin to notice. So let's use the somatic movement approach as a distraction, which is using the movement itself to distract us. So feel your left shoulder and arm and begin to make circles with your arm, moving your shoulder. You can start very small. And if this is the source of your pain, you can just visualize the movement. So we go up, back, down, and forward, north, south, east, and west, and filling in the circle. And I'm right now moving from my arm, actually, particularly from my elbow. You can try moving from your elbow, but then maybe you want to move from your hand, and it feels okay to extend your arm. So the brain knows pain because pain is protection. It's our body's way of telling us to stop doing something. But our body also knows pleasure. And sometimes we have to remind it what that feels like. With really simple, safe movements, just rolling the shoulder. Or find that safety place for you. Maybe it's hand on the shoulder. You can go both directions. And then let the arm come down and see if you can just let the arm be heavy, relaxed, and locate yourself more in what I would say is the girdle, which your left collarbone, your shoulder blade, feel yourself from those bony landmarks, and see if you can make those north, south, east, and west movements from your shoulder. So the arm is completely relaxed on holiday. And you'll notice you'll stretch the front of the pectoral muscles there. You might feel your upper back, the side of your neck. We're just sensing. Sensing is a distraction. Is there anything that feels okay? Is there anything that's interesting? Does this movement make you curious? Being curious is a really good way to go when we're exploring the method of distraction for pain. And you can switch the direction of the circles. Curious in kind. And then just let that arm relax completely. Take a few breaths, land on your right side. Feel the support of the ground or your bed. And then begin to notice your left thigh. Maybe even feel the way your left thigh is resting on top of the right thigh. And we'll start first with the forward and back. So that's your east-west. You can press your left kneecap forward and then draw it back. And moving from your knee might feel different than moving from your thigh. But just taking it back and forth a little bit. How does that feel for your waist, your back? And then let's find the north-south. So you can think of taking your thigh, pushing it or sliding it away, and then sliding it towards you. Lose my bolster there. Slide it away and slide it towards you. And just let the hip respond. Let it follow. So you're having a conversation with a friend whose company you enjoy. Sliding it back and forth. And now make the full circle using your leg and letting the hip just respond to the movement of the leg, letting the back respond, the belly, the waist, anything else. Maybe your head wants to move. Going nice and slow all the way around. And you can switch the direction of the circles. So think of this like a moving meditation. Fully aware and awake of any sensations you're creating in your body and how you respond to those sensations. What do you say to yourself? Is it loving and kind? Is it hopeful? Is it curious? And then we'll stop and pause. Now land yourself in the bones of your pelvis. So you might even feel the front of your hip bone. You can feel the back of your hip and start to make those same circles from your hip. See if you can let your left leg go on holiday. Really slow. Anywhere it's jerky or doesn't slide easily, feel stuck, go even slower through those stuck points. Really easy. And notice the way the waist responds. When does the waist rotate a little? When does it lengthen? When does it shorten? You can use your breath as one of those tools of distraction too. We can let ourselves go into the breath to think about it, but we can also go into the breath to make sure those red flags aren't going up, that we're breathing easily, comfortably. And you can switch the direction of the circles. Picture those bones, and if you can't picture them, feel them. Put your hand there. Imagine you're stirring a pot, and you've got your spoon, your hand is on your hip, and you're stirring. Any imagery that helps you define the movement in a more pleasant way. And then we'll stop and we'll pause and be still. And of course, you can stop and be still anytime, any extra times you need to. But now we'll picture that whole left side, particularly the shoulder. You can feel your collarbone and your shoulder blade, and the hip, the front of the hip and the back of the hip. So we're going to move from the bony landmarks of the girdles, the pelvic girdle and the shoulder girdle. And let them do a little dance together. Maybe they move in the same direction, opposite directions. Doesn't matter. It's movement for the sake of finding something interesting, maybe even something pleasurable. Change it up anytime you want. Notice the way the right side of the body, you're getting feedback from the ground. When you push into the ground, when you pull away from the ground. Do your best to keep the left arm and leg relaxed. So I like to think of things like I can scrunch my torso, my waist down. I can lengthen my waist. I can get it to rotate a little bit. Being playful in your body. And the brain learns more in play than it does in work or exercise. It's listening right now. You're staying present. And then we'll pause and stop and be still. Land yourself or locate yourself into your left lung. So we'll use the breath, but the physical breath. Notice how as you breathe in, the ribs will lift and separate, and there's a sense of spaciousness and freedom in your left side. As you breathe out, there's a compressive force. There's a smushing. Find that first and see if you can use that maybe to lift and to drop, but also to move in any other way you want to, moving from your left lung, stirring your left lung. Keep your presence and your awareness in what feels good or what feels nothing at all. Moving from your left lung. And every now and again, notice, is there anything in your body that is tightening or it's trying to protect you? Those red flags, like your shoulders, your jaw, are your eyes soft? A little turn of the corners of the mouth. I like to say with a smile, we don't fake it till we make it. We fake it till we become it. So just a soft smile. And then let rest again. Feel free to sigh out. And then on your left side, my last one I really enjoy doing is the spleen and or the heart. So see yourself from your heart if you'd like, from your spleen, which is right at the bottom of the left ribs, and also the backside from your left kidney. Go into your beautiful organs, that viscera, And maybe they just want to take a little swim. You can imagine an element, the element of water, the element of wind and air, a light movement, a heavy movement, and just freely letting your torso move and your shoulder and hip respond. Maybe your head responds. How does it feel to move from your juicy center, kidneys, your loving heart, your spleen, and then land one last time. And then I want you to think about the ways we moved and what brought you the greatest range of motion with the most pleasure. So it could have been moving from the arm and the leg. Usually that's the greatest range of motion. It could have been moving from the bones of the collarbones and the shoulder blade and in the shoulder and your hip bones in your hip. It might have been moving from your lung or your heart, your spleen, or your kidney in the back. Any combination. And recognizing that when we say somatic, soma is you on the inside. And you're the only one that can feel yourself from the inside out and know what is appropriate, what is too much, what is too little, and what you're saying to yourself. Just rolling around. Sometimes it's just enough to say, look at me, I'm moving. I'm moving and I'm not frightened. I'm okay with it. There's hope. And then pause and let yourself be still in your body. And we'll finish our practice on our back, but I would like you to make yourself completely comfortable. So I'm going to switch things out a little bit and sit up. So that would include for me a blanket rolled up underneath the knees, because I do like to extend my knees, but I like to bring a little more comfort in. And one of the ways, by the way, you'll know that you're not overdoing it is I always have to be careful towards the end of my practices because my voice will drop. It gets softer. And that's a sign that your nervous system is going more into what we call the parasympathetic, the relaxation response. That's what we're looking for. That softening of the voice. And anything underneath your head, feel free to place your hands on your body somewhere where you can feel, even in the stillness, the movement of your breath. Come back home into the safety of your natural, organic, spontaneous breath. You don't have to breathe any particular way. Just recognizing the gift of your breath. Always moving in and out of your body. And any sensations that are present. So I'm going to ask you to think of something for just a brief moment. Have you ever had a paper cut? Or have you ever slammed a finger in a door? And you know the amount of pain that's involved, even in that simple paper cut, and that all of your awareness, all of your brain power, your nervous system, everything goes into that finger. I just had this happen to myself. Slammed my finger. Because the brain is protecting you. It's telling you something's wrong. Stop, stop. But where we sometimes get lost in the pain receptor world is that the brain initially doesn't know the difference between you slamming your finger in a door and getting a paper cut. Either way, it's going to respond by telling you to stop and to protect yourself. So as you rest right now, can you think of wherever the pain is in your body? More like a paper cut. It's absolutely there. We know something's wrong. But it's more surface. It's something that can heal from the inside out. That's how cuts heal. Sometimes we put Band-Aids over them to let them experience a space of darkness in their healing. But we heal from the inside out. Just being curious about your relationship with whatever that pain is. Can you breathe to it if it's still there? Can you offer it loving kindness? Remind it that you were able to move in a way that was either comfortable or pleasant, or at least not painful. And then taking your time, just begin to wiggle your fingers and your toes playfully. You might breathe in your nose and out your mouth. Nice sigh out the mouth, letting go. Your breath out is your opportunity to purge and purify. Moving your eyes underneath your eyelids. Maybe gently moving your head from side to side. Again, any little movements that are just stimulating enough to distract you without feeling uncomfortable. That might include bending your knees eventually, if your legs are extended. If you want to hug your knees in or take a full body stretch, this is the opportunity for you to listen to your body, see what it needs before you come up. Anything it needs, give it that gift, that present. Your intuition will tell you. Thanks for joining me for this very gentle practice. Remember how powerful your mind is in your own healing. Peace, joy, love, and light.